a 2023 Games adaptive athlete, mate.
That's right.
That's pretty fucking
I'm here.
badass. Not gonna lie.
Thank you so much. My rookie year, it is in the books and it feels good, baby. I've been ready to the anticipation was killing me, especially the month leading up to the games. I'm like, let's just go already. I can't take it. So we did it. We made it out. We're standing, we're alive, and we're hungry to keep going, man. We are so excited to be on this journey and to have experienced the games and to have been there, in Madison for the last year and to have met so many incredible people. So we're really looking forward to taking that with us into our training this next year.
What is it like stepping out on that gym floor, man?
Oh my gosh. So like the first workout, my heart was beating out of my chest and I was like, I may pass out. I'm not sure. And then I was like, it'll get better, come day 2, day 3. And I'm not really sure it ever does because, you're lined up with all the athletes, what's ahead, which is a hard workout, right?
Of
So
course.
there's that. And then you're standing in line and it's like, okay, athletes, and you put your hand on the gumdrop and they go, 10 seconds. And you're like, oh my gosh, 10 seconds is feeling like a minute right now. And then it's the 3, 2, 1. And as soon as the beep goes off, it's kind of like you switch gears. I think that athlete mindset comes into check. You just go full focus mode, but it's really just like those seconds leading up to it where you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't felt butterflies in my stomach like this since like first grade crush or something. You know what I mean? So it's wild, but I mean, I'm glad that I have finally felt it. I have not been, really ever. I really have never been on a competition floor in such a way. I, played sports-ish when I was younger in high school and middle school and all of that, but it's such a different experience, right? To be out there on the floor and, you don't particularly have a team behind you. Like it's like you, right? You got to go do the executing. And so I think there can be a lot of pressure in that regard, but it's really fun once that beep goes off and you get out there and you're doing the work. You're like, oh, I got this shit. Like, this is what we've been training for. Like, I got it. No problem.
I think it's that state of tranquility.
Yeah.
It's essentially peace. Your brain's no
Yes.
longer like stressing you out and be like, have you done enough
Yep.
work? Are you sure like
Yep.
you need to sleep, but you can't be watching this fucking thing? You can't be eating that. You can't be doing, you need to train
Yes.
more. Like it's always revved up about something.
Yeah.
When after that 3, 2, 1, whether it's an individual or a team sport, you
Yep.
feel at peace. It's a really weird feeling to describe to somebody who's never like been an athlete or competed or anything like that. Like
Yes.
to an extent, you can get it within the CrossFit gym,
Right.
within like a normal workout. But I do find sometimes if you got a proper bad state of panic or anxiety or something, you just can't keep hold of your brain, right? But if you're in
Yes.
competition, it is literally peaceful. And I remember I was swam back in the day and I played rugby, and I never used to
Yeah.
see anybody on the sidelines. Like as soon as
Yeah.
that ball had kicked off or the buzzer had gone, it was peace. I couldn't hear a thing, I couldn't see anybody, and it was just time to do
Yes.
our thing, right? And it's
Yes.
I think that's what we crave, like athletes
Mhm.
basically have a mental illness of like nothing is enough.
Oh gosh.
We're a little
Yes,
crazy.
we are crazy. Thank you for validating that for me, by the way. But it is, oh, you just hit the nail on the head. It's like I was talking to my coach, and when we were watching the individuals and the teams, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so nice they have a DJ going. I was like, I wish they played music when we were out there. That would have been fun to listen to. And she goes,
Yeah, they
they were
did.
playing music. I was like, oh shoot, okay, so that's real. Like that
Yeah,
tunnel vision
yeah,
is so real. And you are just focused on the task at hand. And it's so true. I think as athletes, we just love that, right? Like
yeah.
we put in that work, it's time to execute, we're laser focused, we're doing it, and then all of a sudden you're over the finish line. You're like, oh, what just happened? I kind of just blacked out, right? I had a couple people who would come up to me after workouts and they're like, Lauren, can you like give us a rundown? Like, how did that go? And I'm like trying to formulate my words. I'm like, I honestly don't even know what to tell you. It's just like went by so fast in this weird way, right? It's like your body is doing the things and then all of a sudden it's over. So it's a very interesting experience, but it is so peaceful in such an interesting way that I just don't know. It's hard to explain to just like the general public, right? They're like, you're crazy.
And we say yes.
And and I shake my head. Yes, it's true.
100%.
Please be my friend.
Some people go to like a hot yoga or
right.
Just to meditate or something, put some scented candles on. It's like, we kind of crush ourselves.
Exactly.
Like, well, fucking weird, is it?
Dude,
that's true.
Oh, that was the other thing too. I like, come middle of day 2, it's like you're halfway through. You're like, okay, wow, I still have, a whole other half to get through. My body's hurting. I'm mentally trying to keep myself in check. I can't eat, I can barely drink water. And then you're like, I like this, right? Like, this is fun, right? Like, you're asking yourself all these questions. And then, of course, as soon as the last workout happened, I was like crying to my coach. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to come back next year. This was so fun. This is like the best week of my life. So it's just one of those things where, like, in the moment, you just have to really make sure that you're taking care of yourself, right? Because then, come afterward, it's just, you just feel so grateful for the experience. And, even if certain things didn't go as planned, I think most of us athletes can be proud of just saying, yeah, I went out there and I crushed it. I did absolutely everything I could. And that's really what matters.
For sure, man. And I think CrossFit is one of those beautiful things where no matter how far down the chain you are, if you're all the way up at the top, fittest man or woman on earth, or you're all the way down at the bottom, you literally just like go to an affiliate once a week. Right. Everybody can get a little dose of that. Everyone kind of feels that, I was speaking to an athlete when he finished this week, right? One of those sprint workouts, guys.
Sure.
I'm going to give you all a grenade, take the pin out, fucking hold on, see what happens, right? Just hating me through this workout. Maybe a little middle finger was in my direction somewhere along that line.
That's
I'm like,
fair.
I can take that. Don't worry about it. But it got to the end and I just looked at him. I was like, feels pretty good now, right? They're like, oh man, I got those dopamine and that endorphins running down my veins. I was like, that's why we do it, dude. That feeling right there, you cannot exchange enough money for it. There is no pill in the world. There is no fucking line that you can snort that will ever give you that, man.
It's so true. I mean, and that's what I've loved about CrossFit from the start is that my whole thing to people, they'll ask, what would your advice be to someone looking to get into the sport or to just start pushing themselves physically in general? And my thing has been, you don't have to be an expert to start. And I find that to be so true in the sport of CrossFit. Like, you could walk into that gym and have, no prior experience with sports or physical activity at all, right? And you walk in there and you're like, oh, I don't know. I don't think I could do a box jump. That just seems so scary. I should go home. And then you have a coach say, wait, hold on a second. Let's figure out what you could do, right? Let's maybe adjust this to box step ups, or let's do just like a really low box and we'll just do a little baby step like that for now. We'll scale it down. And then guess what? Maybe one day we'll get you up to doing box jumps, right? And I have seen that happen to so many people in the gym that I'm a part of. And it quite literally brings me to tears just to see people saying, before I started CrossFit, I couldn't even bend down to tie my shoes. And now I'm deadlifting and, dumbbell snatching and tying my shoes with ease. And it's just, that's what brings you purpose in life, I think, right?
Yeah, mate, like 100%. And I love the fact that you brought up a box jump because that's my favorite thing to see people achieve, right? And it's not a 100-kilo snatch or a triple body weight deadlift or bar muscle ups or shit. It's like somebody jumping onto a box or a plate for the first time and never done it before in their life. It is a fucking electrifying feeling. Just being a fly on the wall and witnessing this thing, because you see the mental barrier that they're approaching, and then you see them like step back and they're like, no, I can't do that. And then they step forward and they step back again. I was like, no, I can't do that. And then they finally give it a bash and they finally get it. And they're like, holy shit, I can actually get through this barrier. It's like, like all this in here is a physical representation of your mental capacity and capabilities. Like you are much fucking stronger upstairs than you give yourself credit. I'm going to prove that to you by giving you a workout called Fran. She's a bitch. She's going to fuck you, not the other way around. Right. And then, and you're going to walk out thinking that was horrific. I don't ever want to do that again, but I'll see you tomorrow. And you'll come back in, right? And that consistency creates confidence, and that confidence creates confidence, and that confidence bleeds off into everyday life. And that is literally it, mate. Like the change you see in characters, because we're all characters, right? The change you see in them, they got the smile on their face more often. They're now having one sleeping pill rather than 4. You know, they've decided to go to therapy. They're now trying to, you know, put their ego aside and try and work through it with their missus or their fella or whatever, you know. And it's like, guys, you do realize you are fucking savages.
Yes. And that's the thing. We humans are these like really incredible forces that just do not give ourselves enough credit. I mean, and it's exactly to your point with like the box step ups, right? It's these small, simple accomplishments, right? And it's the building effect of it. It all trickles into then building a greater confidence where sure, maybe you could end up doing a muscle up one day or double unders or whatever it might be. But even just building that foundational confidence is something that is so special to me and really speaks a lot to my CrossFit journey as well. If I think back even just, you know, a year or so, I was like going through a really rough patch in my life. Like I had been living in Chicago prior, made the move all the way to Colorado, far away from my family and my friends. I took a job where I was like, think this is a fit. Maybe it's not. I'm not sure. I was going through a bad breakup. I just didn't know which way was up, which way was down. I was so confused just with who I was as a person, where my life was going. And I was really lacking any sort of confidence with myself. And then, you know, come a year or so down the line, I found CrossFit and then started this journey. And I'm so serious when I say I am in a completely different Lauren than I once was, you know, like I said, just a year ago, someone who I would maybe not even recognize now. And I credit so much of that to CrossFit and the community. And again, that confidence building that comes from this sport, it is real, it is thriving, and it's there for everyone to take if they want it.
You know what I think it is?
What's that?
Facing adversity.
Totally.
I think I just think we got to suffer a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, we just got to do the fucking work. Like it is really that painfully simple, because I think the process of doing the work reveals to you the things that you need and the things that you needed to learn. And like, it's already within you, right? But we just get complacent. We fall back on our laurels and we sit on the couch with a thumb in our ass watching Netflix, right? And it's like, well, you know, you just do the work. It will teach you.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. That only ever leads to one thing, man. You're not doing much.
It really does.
I need a nap afterwards.
No, it's so true. And I mean, that is really the kicker right there is when, you know, I share with people, oh, I've only been doing CrossFit for 10 months or so. And they're like, oh my gosh, how you must have been like a gymnast before or something like that. I'm like, absolutely not. I have zero background in anything like bodybuilding, gymnastics, track and field superstar or something like that. No, it was none of that. Really, everything that came to fruition was simply hard elbow grease, putting your feet in the dirt, hard work. And that's it. And that right there is a recipe for success. At the end of the day, hard work is always going to trump just having natural skill and ability, right? Like you are always, as a human, going to have to put in that work. But if you do, you can certainly expect that some good things are going to follow for you. And I think with CrossFit, there are going to be those times where you step foot into the gym and it's just not your day, right? I have had many of occasions where I'm like, F this, oh my gosh, I have whiplash from trying to get double unders. I hate it here. Why am I doing this? I suck. And then you come back the next day and you do it again and you get 3 double unders and you go, okay, cool. That's like really, really cool. And I kind of want to try and come back again tomorrow and see what happens, right? And I think after accumulating, some sessions like that, a couple days, a couple months, a couple years like that, it starts to become more natural for you to want to stick to something, right? And you find kind of like this love for facing adversity, because every time I face something head on like that, I learned a little bit more about myself. And that takes me 3 steps ahead, right? As opposed to just 1 baby step ahead. Even if it took me a little bit longer to get there, I'm always so grateful for the adversities that I'll face, because they teach me a whole lot along the way.
That's exactly right. And I think it's trying not to fall into the trap of comparison, whether that is people around in the same class, whether it's trying to win the whiteboard with the score or the time or whatever, or it's yourself last week. It's like, but you might have slept 4 hours today.
Yes.
And you're not going to perform great. I think there's needs to be a balance, right? Like sometimes you need to get the job done. Right. And I think it's like, well, if we just sit around like, oh, the situation wasn't perfect, the environment's not perfect. I was like, guess what? Neither's life. Fucking move on. Like sometimes you got to get it done. But on other times, you've really got to be honest with yourself. And it's treading that fine line of, am I cutting myself too much slack? Or do I need to cut myself more slack? And I think it comes down to figuring out who you are. Like, are you your own worst enemy more than you're your biggest cheerleader?
It's true. It's so true. And that can really dig you into a deep hole. And I relate to that sentiment very much so, especially looking like at our adaptive division, right, in the CrossFit Games. And really this can go for any of the divisions, but speaking to my division, not one of us athletes are the same, right? There's always and we just never will be, right? If you have an adaptation, it's probably going to be 10 times different than this person standing next to you that has an adaptation. And it's so easy to get into your head, well, I should have done better because of X, Y, and Z, or, well, I didn't do as good because they have this and I don't have this. And I have really had to put myself in check a few times to just say, I'm competing to be the best version of myself, right? I am competing to make myself proud. And of course, at the end of the day, we're all competitors, and who doesn't want to stand up there with a medal, right? But in my opinion, I feel 10 times more fulfilled walking out of a workout saying, damn, I just got a personal PR for myself. That was badass. That I know for a fact that I worked as hard as I absolutely could have in that workout. That is awesome. Even if I came in last, right? So I think it's just so important to keep those things in perspective, because the more you look to your right, the more you look to your left, and you start kind of swaying out of your own path, you're never going to reach the end goal that you want. And that end goal, again, doesn't mean a gold medal, right? Sometimes that just means crossing the damn finish line, but doing it with pride and with dignity. And I think that there's a lot to be learned from competitors or other people in your gym. But take that and simply just learn from it, right? Don't let it dig you into the ground, right? And put you into this mental space of, oh, well, I just didn't do good because they're just better than me. And that's it. And that's my life. And I suck. You know what I'm saying? So to your point, I think it's this really fine line of saying, well, at least for me, I know that maybe I could have done better, but I slept 2 hours. I haven't been eating. I'm super dehydrated, whatever, speaking as if we're at the games, right? And it is what it is. Or you go into competition, you say, I'm feeling so great right now. I'm going to go out there and kick ass. And I'm going to do it simply for me. Right. And even if you go out there and you kick ass and, you take names and you cash some checks and you still come up there last, as long, in my opinion, if you make yourself proud and you left your heart out on that floor, that's what matters. That is what matters. And that is what is going to fuel an athlete to keep going.
I completely agree, because I think that goal that people strive for is like the light at the end of the tunnel. The problem is this tunnel is infinite length. It's just going to keep going. There's always going to be one more. There's always going to be another kilo, right? Like when I first got into weightlifting, like the piece of advice I was given is realize that you'll always be shit at weightlifting. I was like, oh, thank you very much.
It's not wrong.
And they said, well, there's always going to be another kilo.
Yeah.
Like if you, I don't know, do the perfect snatch, it was like mint, but you could have done it with 1 more kilo. And that will always be the case. You can always go faster. You can always do this. If I won it, you got to win it twice. If you win it twice, you got to win it 3 times. There's always going to be something that you're, well, what about if I do that again? I said, maybe that's not a possibility, but you're always going to have that itch that needs scratching. Yeah, so I think if we focus on the placement of our feet, right, if we lay that brick as perfectly as we can lay it, eventually Rome is going to be built. But we can't be staring at this dream in the clouds and be like, oh, what happens if no. Fuck that. No. Like now, what can you do? Today you've got a 5 round, you got 400-meter repeats. Cool. You might not be able to smash your PBs and your times and stuff, but can you be more efficient? Can you be breathing better? Where's your foot placement? Are we heel striking, or are we ball of the foot striking? What are we doing? Are we pulling, or are we lifting? It's just random stuff like that. And I think it's a really beautiful thing for everyday athletes to hear it, to come from a mouth like yourself of like, well, this is a games athlete. It's like, but we can replicate that in the gym, and we can replicate that at home, and we can replicate that in fucking work. You're not always going to be 100%. You're not always going to have your perfect foot forward. You can fucking work on something. You just got to find your win.
Yes, absolutely. And honestly, that's also what I've taken from CrossFit. Like I have taken the mindset that I utilize in the gym and in competition and have filtered it into parts of my life, like work or home life or whatever it might be, because let's say you wake up, you're tired, you get through a whole work day, you go, oh my gosh, now I have to go to the gym. Oh my gosh, then I have to cook dinner. Fuck my life. This sucks. Right. And that's okay. Sometimes it does suck. That's the thing though. Sometimes it does suck, but I've realized if you can give yourself these small wins, right? Like, okay, I know I'm going to be at the gym until 8 and then I have to feed myself. If I meal prepped on Sunday and now I have at least 1 Tupperware in the fridge for myself, I am taking that as a win for that night. Like, yes, I did something good for myself. I love it. We're killing it. We're moving on to the next day with ease. Thanks to my meal prep, right? Like the small, silly wins that just keep getting you through some of those harder days are so important to, at least to me, and have been things that have helped me get through an extensive training schedule, having a home life, having an actual 8 to 5 day job. And then just trying to also give myself a break in the meantime. Those are really important to have those small wins.
Lars, I got 3 questions.
So
what's the greatest piece of life advice you've ever received?
Oh my gosh. Let's see. I would have to say it's kind of a mix of a couple of things, like be true to yourself and believe in yourself. I went too long of my life, I think, not being true to myself. And that had a lot to do with me, I guess, not being confident in the fact that I can still be an athlete. I can still be smart. I can still be a good friend and a family member, even though I have one leg, something that makes me different, right? This insecurity. It used to really put me in a place of feeling really insignificant in trying to live my life to please others. And it was a few years ago that I really realized, like, wow, it's that doing that, living my life in that way is making me quite miserable, internally. And, I'm not getting fulfillment out of this life in ways that I hope. And all we know right now is that we live this one life, and I'll be damned if I don't live a little bit of it for myself. So I think it's really important to do what you can. It's not always an easy journey. It's not, it's easier said than done. But try to live this life for yourself. And fuck the rest, right? Like, and with that, then start believing in yourself, finding that confidence in yourself that, okay, at least in my shoes, it was, I have this limitation. But I also have this desire to want to express myself physically. And I've always had a natural inclination just toward athletics and being an athlete. I always found it to be so attractive and so cool. And I wanted to incorporate that in my life somehow. And I never knew how to do it when I was growing up. I didn't have an adaptive athlete figure. It just wasn't as prevalent for me. And so it seemed less like something that would be in my future. But then I hit that point where I was like, screw that. Why not? Like, let's make it a part of your future, right? Believe in yourself. If you're feeling this strongly that you want this to be a part of your life, then let's make it happen. We can figure that out. And now the rest is history. So my life advice would be true to yourself and believe in yourself.
What's the worst piece of life advice you've ever received?
Oh gosh. Let's see. Probably, well, I think it would be something along the lines of just suck it up and keep moving. And here's the thing with that, because I am such a person who lives life in a way of work hard, like, yes, kind of like suck it up in a sense and get the job done. But I also did that for a very long time and never asked for help, and never expressed my emotions in ways maybe that I should have, and leaned on people for support. And when I started doing that, I realized that life is just a lot more beautiful when you let other people in, when you allow others to be a part of your journey with you, even if they're seeing very vulnerable sides of yourself, sides that maybe make you feel quote unquote weak, right? I think to me, it was skewed. It was like, if I showed that side of myself, I'd be weak. I would be what society had deemed me to be as an adaptive human. And it's really not that at all. I actually find people to be very strong when they show those sides of themselves. And I like being there for people in that way. And it is become a blessing in my life to let people in that way as well. So I would say that type of advice is definitely some shit.
Yeah, there's definitely some beauty to be found in vulnerability, and it's definitely something I've learned in recent times, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. What are the 3 words you tell your younger self?
Never give up. Never give up. I could get emotional saying that right now, but there were many times in my life, as I'm sure there are many times in other people's lives as well, where you just want to throw in the fucking towel and say, this sucks. This is hard. And I've gotten to that point many a times where it's been a real close call of just saying, you know what, I'm not gonna try. It doesn't, it's not going my way. Or, maybe I thought this would be great and it's really just not, and I need to stay in my lane. And no. Follow your dreams and never, ever give up on yourself. You will always, yourself, you are your own biggest fan, your biggest supporter. You have to be there for yourself and believe in yourself and never give up on you. I think that's one of the most important things that anyone in this life can do, is just to never give up on themselves. And it doesn't mean that that's not going to be hard. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. But if you can keep that in the back of your mind, I promise you'll thank yourself one day, because younger Lauren is clapping for me right now. So,
Mate, thank you so much. This has been a fucking honor and a privilege, mate.
Thank you, Alex. I really appreciate it. This has been so lovely. Thank you for letting me share my story.
Mate, there's a seat at this table whenever you want. All you gotta do is sit down and start talking shit, mate.
Man,
you know,
I like to talk, so you can't just offer that. And then if we involve beer, then you're just, oh God, then the podcast is gonna have to be like an hour.
What do you mean if? What do you mean if?
All right, hey.
I'll drink it like 3 o'clock in the morning. Fuck it. Let's carry on.
Let's go.
Yeah, mate. You're always welcome back. I really appreciate hearing what you got to say, mate. So thank you.
Thank you for what you do. I really appreciate it. It's been an honor, and please keep in touch with me. I would love that.
Always, mate. You have a good time, and we'll speak soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, Alex.
Take it easy.
Bye.
See you later, everybody.